Okay, everybody, I'm going to get started. First of all, thank you very much for making time in your day to attend this webinar. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Ted. I'm an implementation specialist here with RedTeam Go. We've also got Eileen here with us. Eileen's another implementation specialist. She'll be managing the chat and the Q&A features on the Zoom call. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to get to each of them. All right, so today we're talking about moving into the pending status and owner contracts. Eileen, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, we're going to be talking about pending status and owner contracts. For those of you that have been with Red Team for any length of time, the owner contracts, historically, if you needed any customizations or any changes, edits, anything like that, for the most part, you've had to submit the request through your implementation specialist, and then that's forwarded on to our programming team, which is a little cumbersome, and sometimes takes a little bit of time and extra cost. We're very excited to let you know, if you don't already know, that we just recently, within the last few weeks, we just unrolled a new module that's replaced the previous owner contract module, and it's much more user friendly. It's customizable on your end, and we're going to dive into that and show you all the bells and whistles. We're pretty excited about it. So moving in the pending status, when you're starting a project and you're in bidding, once you move out of the bidding phase, the next status is the pending status, and that's where we're going to be ready to generate the owner contract. This should look familiar to you. Specifically, I want to look up at the top right. I've got the red box around the status of the project currently. Right now it's in bidding. But also, if we look over at the left side menu in the bidding and commitments options in the left side menu, you'll see that while in the bidding phase, the bidding option is available in the left side menu, but the commitments option is not. You'll see that that's grayed out. So when we go up to the right and click on bidding, the only option it gives us for a status change is to move it forward into pending. We're going to go ahead and do that. When we do that, there's some checks and balances in place to make sure that items aren't being forgotten. So I did this intentionally to show what it looks like if you have a $0 amount in any of the items in your bid worksheet. That way this window pops up to draw your attention to the fact that you may have missed something in the bid worksheet. In this case, we left a $0 amount in the masonry line item. From this window, it's going to give you the option to either return to the estimate worksheet to make that correction, or you can move forward with it the way it is right now by clicking no. So we're going to go ahead and click no to go ahead and move the project forward into pending. When we do that, now up at the top right, you'll see that the status shows that we're in pending. And when we move into pending, the left side menu has changed a little bit. Now we can't make any changes to the bidding module. You see that that's grayed out, but now the commitments option is available to us. It's no longer grayed out. When we click on the commitments option in the left side menu, you'll see that there's only one option to us while we're in the pending status, and that is owner contracts. The other options within commitments are not available yet. They will be once we move the project forward to in progress. Now, this is where it starts to look different from what you may be used to with the previous owner contract module. When we click on owner contracts in the left side menu, this is now the window that opens up for you. Some of the functionality is the same. We're very similar, where it's going to ask for the start date, the end date, retainage, things like that. The difference with this is it's not inside the document like the previous version was. This is going to be providing information for the system to pull into the contract for you. So now you're able, like I mentioned earlier, now we're able to fully customize the owner contract without having to go through RedTeam and without having to go through the extra step of going through the programmers. Before we dive into that, we're going to set up our system defaults for the new owner contract. So to set any system defaults, we're going to start up at our profile tab up in the top right. Right now you see my name, but it would be your name if you're logged into your system. So you click on your name, you get this drop-down menu. We're going to go to administration. When you come into administration, you now have a second left side menu. We're going to go to default settings. And when you click on that, it's going to open up this additional menu. And we're going to go to owner contracts. When you do that, you're going to have the second left side menu that we were just operating in, eating up some of your real estate on your screen. To give you a little bit more room to work with, we can click on that arrow that's highlighted up at the top. And now that second menu goes away and gives you more room to work with. On the left side of this new window, we've got a list of contracts that are available to you to use. If you have an AIA license or a consensus docs license, those options will be available to you in this list of contracts. If not, you'll have the owner contract, which is the RedTeam generic owner contract. Next to each contract that's available in this list, you have a few different options. You have the three dots or the ellipse icon that gives you different options. You can edit the existing document, you can duplicate it, you can get rid of it. You can set it to inactive. If we set it to inactive, it'll move it down to the bottom of this list and grayed out. It will still be there for you to select. You would just have to revert it back to being an active contract. But you've got those different options within the ellipse icon. You've also got the add new button up at the top. This is where you can add a brand new template to use for an owner contract. By default, it uses the RedTeam generic contract that you can use as a starting point to go in and modify and customize to the document that you need. You'll see in the body of the contract, you'll see a bunch of fields that have a light blue highlight behind them. This indicates an automated field. So by default, the one that I have highlighted is the owner company will appear here. This is information that the system is going to pull into the contract based on project information that you've already provided. So you don't have to generate all this information from scratch. Anything in blue, the system will automatically pull in for you. The previous version of owner contracts, if you'll remember, if you go into the body of the contract, it would have a bunch of fields that were in bold. Those were also automated, where it would pull the information into the body of the contract for you. This is just a different layout. But again, it's automated to save you a lot of time. Up at the top right, you've also got the edit button. That's where we're going to be able to go in and customize this contract. So when we click that edit button, we now have new options. Over on the left side, you've got those 8 different tiles where you can add a section, add a page break, specs, anything along those lines. You can just scroll down and drag that tile in between the different sections where you want that new section to appear. So if you just want to have section 1 and 2 on page 1, you might want to throw a page break in after page 2. And again, you can customize that however you want. You've also got the arrows in that second red box. So you've got the crossed arrows where you can drag that section around and drop it in wherever you need it to be, wherever it makes sense for you. So if you want to, if there was a reason why you wanted to drag this top section all the way to the very end, or anywhere in the middle, you could just use the crossed arrows to drag it and drop it wherever you need it to be. The up and down arrows will just jump that section up or down. So if you want to just move it up or down one spot, you can use the up and down arrows to jump the section around. You've also got the blue box with the pencil. That's where we're going to edit this particular section, and we'll get into that in just a minute. And then over on the far right, you've got a trash can where you can get rid of the section altogether. And again, that just points out the arrows in the trash can. All right, so when we click on the blue box with the pencil, that's going to give you the option to edit just the section, not the entire document, but just the section that you clicked on. When you do that, you'll now see a new menu over on the left side. You'll see that all of the items within that menu are in blue. Those are the automated fields that you can drag into the body of the contract. And there's a lot of them in there. You'll see the scroll bar on the right side of that menu. If there's something specific you're looking for, you can use the search field up at the top of that menu. Let's say you're looking for material vendor or substantial completion date or drawings or anything along those lines. You can type it up in the search field, find it, and then click and drag it over into the body of the contract wherever you need it to be. And you can do the same thing in reverse. If there's an automated field that's already in the owner contract, you can go in there and get rid of it. So you can tailor that to whatever you need or whatever you would like for it to show. Also, you've got all the formatting tools. You should be pretty used to seeing those throughout RedTeam, so you can go in and format the text. Anything that's not the automated fields, you can go in and automate. So if you want to change the font, the color, underline, bold, anything along those lines, you can go up to the formatting tools up at the top of that section. And then when you're done with that, you can click on the blue save button up or down at the bottom. And again, just to be clear, that's saving any changes that you've made to that section. That's not saving the overall owner contract yet. Up at the top, you've got the blue save button. As soon as you make any edits to the contract, that blue save button is going to start shimmering at you to get your attention to make sure that you're saving the changes. All of that was for the overall global default owner contract. Before I jump into the project level, project specific topics, does anybody have any questions? You can ask in the chat or in the Q&A. Should be at the bottom of your screen. Okay. Now we're going to look at writing an actual contract for a project. So we're going to get out of our administration section and come back out to our project dashboard. You can also go into your projects and select the project that you're writing a contract for. When we do that, again, we're going to go to the left side, click on commitments, and then click on owner contracts. That's what's going to present the working area for the owner contract on most of your screen on the right side. Again, you'll notice that up at the top, you've got the fields for the start date, end date, agreement, print, and retainage. Similar to the previous functionality, you've got your substantial completion number of days, and you've got your end date over on the left side. Those two will work together. So if you provide an end date, the system is going to calculate how many days that is, and it will fill in the substantial completion number of days for you. And then the same thing in reverse. If you know it's going to be a 365-day project, you can plug in 365 in that field, and it will back calculate to show the end date. You've also got up at the top right, you've got an import button, which we're going to look at. And then one thing that's a little bit different than the previous module is that you can add your alternates, units, and phases from here. Again, you've got your alternates, units, and phases. So if you have an alternate, you can use checkboxes to include the alternates that are going to be included in this contract. Same thing with the phases, the units. If you have units on the project, if you click on units, it's going to ask you for how many of each unit need to be included in the contract, and it will provide the overall total for the units, and it will adjust the contract value accordingly. Now we have the option to edit the contract that's specific for this project. It's the same functionality that we just went through in the administration portion. So I'm not going to spend any time on that unless anybody has any questions. But again, you can edit, go into each section, add automated fields, format text, all of those things that we talked about previously. When you edit, again, it's the same functionality, except for up at the very top, you've got two buttons that weren't there before: the sign and send and the request signature. So that's up to you. That's more of an internal decision as to how you want to navigate this. If you would prefer to send this to the owner first to sign, you can request a signature, and I'll show you that workflow in just a minute. Or if you would prefer to sign and send a signed version of the contract to the owner, you have that option as well. But that's the distinction between those two buttons. It basically comes down to who's going to sign it first. Down in the body of the contract, we also have we looked at the edit, sign, and print buttons. If we click on the sign dropdown, it presents those same two options to either sign it first and then send it, or vice versa. Send it first to request a signature before you send it. If we go to send it, it's another check and balance in place for you to make sure that everything's done correctly before you send this document, before you send the contract. So return and complete. So this is a checklist that the system provides for you to make sure that all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed. If you look on the bottom left side, there's the list of required items before the contract is sent. You'll see that anything that has not been provided is in red, has a red circle next to it. Or if it is complete, then you have a green check mark next to it. You've also got a list of any alternates, units, and phases, just a summary of those items. So you'll see that because we have incomplete items, the only action item that we have available to us now is to return incomplete. It's not going to let us override this checklist and send it without the project start date and all the other incomplete items. If we opt to request a signature to have the owner sign first, It's the same functionality, except for in this case, you have the button that says proceed to sign. This is what it looks like when you click on either of those buttons. I'm sorry. If you want to sign it and then send it, this is the option that you would have. It presents the contract as a PDF, and then at the bottom, you've only got the two options. You can electronically sign it or you can close. If you choose to electronically sign it, it gives you this additional window to document who it is that's signing it. So the system requires a name and title. So I went ahead and provided that information. So my name, and I put that I was the project manager. As soon as you provide that information, now you have the blue button at the bottom where you can agree and sign. If we opt to request a signature before we sign it, after we got through the checklist, if that's ready to go, then this is the next window that you'll see. Again, you should recognize this module, this function from several other areas throughout RedTeam, but this is a system generated email that you'll send to the owner. You cannot add additional people to the to field up at the top. The only exception to that would be the owner rep, if there is one. If there is an owner and an owner rep, they would both show up in that field. But you can't add anybody aside from the owner or owner rep. You've got system generated text in the body of the email. Again, it's going to pull your name in there based on whoever's signed in. And then a link. So that magic link is what the owner is going to receive, and it will take them into the contract to let them electronically sign it. You've also got the option to add any attachments down at the bottom before you send it. I mentioned earlier up at the top right, you've got the blue import button. You've got a couple of different types of items that you can import. You can import a contract, or you can import or manage any attachments. If you get a contract signed outside the system, so let's say you generate this contract, send it to the owner, and they print it out and sign it, scan it back in, and email it to you. This is the workaround for that. So you could import a contract from the blue button up at the top right that says import. It would open up this window, and you need to indicate the GC signature date and the owner signature date. And then you have a drag and drop feature here where you can drag the PDF into this window. As soon as you do, you'll have a button at the bottom that lets you submit it. At that point, again, if you've been with RedTeam for any length of time, you may be familiar with the left side menu option that says project documents. If you import this owner contract that you receive from outside the system, as soon as you submit it here, it will go into your project documents folder. You've also got the option to import or manage attachments. So if you click on that option from the import drop-down menu, you've again got the drag drop option up at the top left where you can go into your file manager and select a document. In the window to the right of that, the other red box, you have to give the attachment a title. If you pull it in from your files, it will pull in the title of the file, how you have it labeled in your system, but you have the option to change the name of it in this box as well. And then the drop down below that, the select attachment placement, you'll notice down below here, we've got embedded attachments and linked attachments. When we select the drop down up at the top, it's going to ask us to choose whether we want this document embedded or linked. I'll show you that in just a second. And then you upload the attachment. So I went ahead and uploaded just some dummy documents just for demonstration. I made one an embedded attachment and one a linked attachment. This is what it's going to look like if you select to make the attachment a linked attachment. The system will generate a URL for it with a hyperlink. And if you have 10 different attachments that you've uploaded as linked attachments, they'll all show on this page. This is below the signature line in the body of the contract. So you'll have the body of the contract and then a blank page that has a list of any attachments that you've included as linked attachments. And then the same thing for the embedded attachments, they'll just show as PDFs on the page after the linked attachments. So you'll have the body or the body of the contract, then a page with the links for the linked attachments, and then the attached PDFs as embedded attachments. That's all I've got for the moving into pending status and the new owner contract functionality. We're super excited about the new owner contract functionality. And we think it's going to make life a lot easier for you all. Well, again, thank you everybody for making time in your day to let us show you through all this. You have a great day. Thank you.